another blow to the U.S. China is cutting tariffs on non-U.S. goods. China has come out swinging again in the trade war in a move which will help the Chinese consumer and hurt the U.S. economy. Here are the details. China has decided to come out swinging against President Donald Trump's trade war. In a recent move, the communist country has elected to cut tariffs on imports that come from anywhere other than the United States. This simple yet effective step taken in the combat that has become a trade war shows that China is not backing down and will be in it for the long haul. China's government announced Wednesday that the country would cut import tariffs on a slew of goods to lessen the impact of the trade war with the U.S. Duties on textiles, construction equipment, and more than 1,500 other goods will drop on November 1, according to the Chinese government. Chinese state media said the move was expected to save consumers in the country 60 billion yuan, about $8.7 billion. Even communist China understands tariffs are paid by consumers. Attempting to ease the financial burden on their citizens, China took steps to help while the U.S. continues to punish everyday Americans and push the cost of the trade war off onto their backs. According to Business Insider, all indications have pointed to a protracted trade war as China canceled talks following President Donald Trump's latest round of tariffs, and the U.S. is already threatening another round of restrictions. Wednesday's move also shows that Beijing is also trying to tweak economic conditions in the country to weather a drawn-out fight, Edward Alden, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, said. Cutting tariffs makes a lot of sense, Alden said. If you are worried about strengthening China's position in the supply chain if you cut tariffs, especially on intermediate goods, that helps the competitiveness of companies within China and it helps keep down consumer costs at a time the tariff war is driving them up. Cutting tariffs on non-U.S. goods was a smart move on China's part, and most economists agree, it'll help ease up the consumer's pain. This will essentially act as a release valve for some of the pressure from the trade war. Businesses and consumers in China won't see as dramatic of an increase in the cost of goods, which decreases public pressure on the government to come to an agreement with the U.S. Additionally, the cut is likely to increase the pain for U.S. manufacturers as Chinese consumers shift away from more expensive American goods toward cheaper alternatives from other countries, reported Business Insider. In principle, these tariff cuts should apply to all imports, including those from the United States, Scott Kennedy, a Chinese economic expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies told Business Insider. But China is still likely to leave in place its retaliatory tariffs, meaning the benefits of these tariff cuts will go to other countries. These items will be hit the hardest because of the Trump tariffs. We hear the impact of the tariffs will hit us in our wallets, but exactly what goods are we talking about? Here are 3 items we all use regularly. The Trump administration's insistence on a trade war will affect 3 items the most. Americans will be footing the bill for President Donald Trump's trade war and tariffs, and vacuums, tires, and computer parts will be the items hit the hardest. By now, hopefully, Americans have put 2 and 2 together and figured out that it isn't the Chinese government that will pay for Trump's tariffs, but the Chinese consumer. Much like the American government will not pay for China's tariffs, it will be the American consumer. Those costs are passed on directly to the public in the form of higher cost of goods. And if you're looking for a new vacuum or tires, or maybe you'd like to upgrade your computer, expect much higher prices immediately. President Donald Trump announced a new tariff on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods on Monday. The tariffs, which go into effect September 24, today, will hit a wide range of goods, from furniture to industrial chemicals, and Americans already living paycheck to paycheck will definitely feel the pressure in their wallets. It's about to get a lot harder to make ends meet thanks to the government. Economists expect that the items hit by the 10% tariff will cause an increase in price, making those goods more expensive for United States consumers and businesses. A total of 5,745 items will see their prices jump, but some goods will go up sharply while others will only rise a small amount. Business Insider analyzed data from the U.S. Trade Representative's tariff list and the U.S. Census Bureau's database, And the Trade News Center broke down how much of each good was exported to the U.S. from China in 2017 to determine the most important items that will get hit. There were 14 items on the tariff list that topped $1.5 billion in import value last year. The goods spanned several industries, including auto parts, circuit boards, and chairs. But tires, an already expensive necessity for most Americans, who already put it off because tires often cost more than a month's worth of rent, will likely leave the biggest dent. Economists are also warning that the increase in inflation from the new trade war attack will be meaningful and Americans will feel this financially immediately. The other horrible consequence of Trump's trade war is a loss of jobs. As businesses face higher costs for input goods, companies in the U.S. are being forced by the government to either cut back in other areas, such as laying off workers, or pass along the price increase to consumers. Neither of those are good options for an economy on edge and a nation $21 trillion in debt.